This is called fair use and is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 USC 107.
About 15-minute cities. And I've seen all these people who extol the virtues of 15-minute cities, that they're great things, and then other people who are very worried about what a 15-minute city is. And I know we have a proclivity in our culture, in our society today, that we have to rely on expert models before we can make a decision if something's good or bad. So I decided that I would create an expert model to help visualize to people what is a 15-minute city. So come on in, let me show you what a 15-minute community looks like.
Well, I'm excited to see this, Randy, because you always break things down into nice practical ways, right?
Here we go. These residents of the 15-minute community, they're not locked in, but they just stay there. They're free to come and go, but they don't. So let's take a step inside. Everything they need in their life is right here in their 15-minute community. A water bowl, a feed tray. They own nothing, but they are exceptionally happy. And you know how happy they are is by how many eggs they produce. And it's so wonderful because I get to take everything that they produce and they just keep producing. So let me go in here. And here we go. Each of them have their own house. Now in a 15-minute community, you don't get a lot of variation in housing. They're all pretty much the same. But we can take a look and collect their production. There's a few. There's a few more. And there we go.
And they're none the wiser.
And they're happy.
Yeah.
I get to take what they produce. They're free to come and go, but the world is so scary for them out there, they will never leave. I don't have to put a fence around them. And here we are.
It's an ideal world. I don't see anything wrong with it. Everything is provided for them. They're cared for. They're happy. They're together.
Yeah.
It's all convenient.
So anybody who wants to understand what a 15-minute community is, here you go. And there's only one boss. And that boss provides everything for them.
Well, they're lucky to have you, Randy.
But I should give them some food. And they know when it's dinner time. This is your future in the 15-minute city.
The 15-minute city mean basically a neighborhood where you can reach everything you need within a 15-minute foot walk. A doctor, grocery store, and so forth. However, if you now fancy another store and it does not happen to be in your neighborhood, you won't be going to that store anymore. Total control is what we're talking about. Once they decide you're no longer allowed to leave your 15-minute immediate area, they don't have to fence it in or anything. It will be done via digital ID.
With the social credit system, kind of
Something like
maintaining
that.
compliance.
Yes. And there's pilot projects already going on in Bologna. It's called the Bologna Wallet. And in Vienna, it's called the Vienna Token. It's voluntary for now. And it's only pretty much enticing people to get some ticket for a little less or something like that to go to theater, something like that. But soon there will be a time you don't have a choice anymore. You have to have this digital green certificate, this QR code, whatever. And then they will tell you where you can go, what you can do, and what you can and cannot do.
I want to get you to describe this 15-minute cities, because they're a key part of this net zero scam. Now, last year, the World Economic Forum published a piece called the 15-minute city concept, which implies having all necessary amenities within a short walk, bike ride, or public transit trip from one's home, as demonstrated stickiness, not just as an idea, but as a powerful tool for action as climate change and global conflict cause shocks and stresses at faster intervals, et cetera, et cetera. A 15-minute city, what does that do to individual freedom of movement, Professor?
It's absolutely catastrophic. They're actually already introducing these in the UK in several cities. Lots of them are planned. Nobody ever voted for this. What it actually means is actually they actually have these roadblocks or cameras in different zones around the city, which means that people are not allowed to use their cars outside of that zone, that so-called 15-minute zone, more than 100 times per year. So you can make basically a couple of journeys a week outside of the zone. So everything else, the idea is you're supposed to be shopping, working inside the zone. And so that's the only place, you're allowed to travel by car. And of course, they make it actually very difficult, even within the zone, to do any travel by car. But the idea is essentially to stop you going out of the zone, stop you traveling wherever you want. And the joke about this, it's kind of like an irony, is that this is supposed to ultimately, stop people traveling by car. But in practice, people will have to go out of the zone to get to work, to take their kids to school, etc., like that. And what's going to happen is they'll simply have to drive much further to get back to where they need to be.
Professor, your analysis has been invaluable. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
I'm very curious what your opinion is on 15-minute cities. This is something that I guess it's a new idea that we're only beginning to hear about. Maybe you can actually remind us what they are. And I understand they're coming in Europe now. There's legislation pushing in that direction already.
Yes, it is. The digital green certificate, the COVID pass, that was a test balloon to get people to having to produce some kind of a QR code, just getting people used to that. Now what they're slamming us with is these 15-minute cities. Make no mistake, it's not about your convenience. It's not that they want you to be able to, have all of these places that you need to get to very close. And it's not about saving the planet either, by the way. The 15-minute cities, they will have to have those before they can lock you down. And that's what we're talking about here. So in Great Britain, some county already passed legislation. They will be able to impose a climate lockdown. That's the next step. That's what we're talking about. So in order to do that, they will have to have these 15-minute cities. The next step then, of course, will be you are only allowed to leave your immediate area for, let's say, 2 or 3 times a year. So, but there's other people that may have more money and they can actually buy your passings off of you. So guess what? The poor people will be left in these 15-minute neighborhoods while the ones that are better off get to go wherever they want to go. So this is what we're talking about, Look at Saudi Arabia, for instance. They're pulling up Neom City. They call it the Line. So this is like a structure in the middle of the desert, 200 kilometers long, 200 meters wide, 500 meters high, and it will house up to 9 million people. Oh, isn't that just brilliant? If I wanted to get total control of the people, that's exactly where and how I would house them. And then having them on a 3 meals a day prescription. Well, guess what will happen if you do not do as you are told? They will probably cancel that. It's so easy. So that's what we're talking about. And when you really take all of this together, there is no other way for me to actually say this. It will be a complete impoverishment and enslavement of all the people.
So now in England, this is happening. In Oxfordshire, the council is to trial a climate lockdown starting in 2024. Oh, it's just going to be a trial? It's not. So here it was 18 hours ago. Oxfordshire County Council yesterday approved plans to lock residents into one of 6 zones to save the planet, they say, from global warming. The latest stage in the 15-minute city agenda is to place electronic gates on key roads in and out of the city, confining residents to their own neighborhoods in Oxfordshire.
Many consider this idea laudable. 15-minute cities make everything walkable. You can go by foot to grab a coffee, do your grocery shopping, have a pint. And if you don't fancy walking, everything you need is just a 5-minute bicycle ride away. Lovely. Fans of this scheme say it will deal with traffic and congestion and make life easier, more convenient and sustainable for locals. Except that, as the MP Nick Fletcher, who's raised a question about this in Parliament, points out, these low-traffic neighbourhoods are having an impact on small businesses, given the lack of passing trade they now receive. Take a listen.
Will the leader please set aside some time in this House for a debate on the international socialist concept of so-called 15-minute cities and 20-minute neighbourhoods? Ultra-low emission zones in their present form do untold economic damage to any city. However, the second step after these zones will take away personal freedoms as well. Sheffield is already on this journey, and I do not want Doncaster, which is also a Labour-run socialist council, to do the same. Low emission zones cost the taxpayer money, simple as. However, 15-minute cities will cost us our personal freedom, and that cannot be right.
Well, the minister who answered his question, Penny Mordaunt, did not disagree. So projects like ultra-low emission zones in central London and other British cities is arguably impacting enterprise and is most certainly curtailing our way of life. The Telegraph today report that a low-traffic neighbourhood scheme in Haringey in North London has blocked off certain residential streets with cameras or planters to stop motor traffic using the neighbourhood as a through route. The council defended its actions, saying it aims to make it safer and easier to walk, wheel, scoot, cycle and shop locally. 6 months on, however, and the paper reports that 3/4 of traders on one Haringey street in particular are thinking of leaving in the next 18 months, and 3 have already shut up shop. One of them is My Little Home Emporium, a once bustling vintage furniture shop that now stands shuttered and derelict with low-traffic neighbourhood planters blocking the road next to it.
Homing in on town planning.
You in your area will only be allowed within that 15-minute zone that you've been allocated.
There's going to be a stipulation in this policy that says, look, we will never have barricades here.
No, we didn't consider that.
This is real.
The newest elite agenda to bulldoze our liberties, the 15-minute city. How bad could it get? This bad.
The 15-minute city is actually about getting people to, or enabling basically, walking and active travel to shops, schools, and basically places where they want to go.
Actually, that sounds quite nice. Never mind. Melbourne, Paris, Bogota, Portland, cities around the world are either trialling or running some form of the 15-minute city.